What is up, party people? It's your boys, Eagles Talk on A2D Radio. We got Brinks over there, PY down there. We're going to talk a little offense. Guess what? The coordinators finally spoke. We're going to catch it all here live. And you already know, Bowen on the Birds is going to be in. He's going to be flying in at some point. So let's get into it.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! Philadelphia!
If you love the Philadelphia Eagles, just give me a heck yeah right now. But it is what it is. We get one step closer to that hot, steamy time in the summer when we talk about training camp. But guess what? Last Thursday, the coordinators finally spoke. We're going to talk about it. You see the poll questions already up. We are ready to go, actually ahead of schedule. Kellen Moore will get the best out of Jalen Hurts in 2024. Agree or disagree? Hey, man, first and foremost, everybody's here. A whole 7 days has passed. I love to see the New York Knicks be tied up, be down 20. I can't stand them.
Losers.
I think Boston and Cleveland's playing right now. I think Boston's up 10. It is what it is. You can't win them all. Can't win them all, right?
But you can't lose in front of LeBron.
No, it is what it is, man. But
LeBron's at the game.
He's at the game. Oh, God.
He's back in Cleveland.
That would make sense for him to want to go back to Cleveland so his son. His son. Oh God.
I know his son didn't miss a shot at the combine today.
Oh my God.
We'll gladly take him in the first round without question.
Stop it.
Yes, all day, all
Eagles,
day.
Eagles. I can't.
Yeah. We're not.
I can't. I hate them so much. I hate them so much.
We give it way too much time already. We give it way too much time already. But no, man, Kellen Moore will get the best out of Jalen Hurts in 2024. Do we agree or disagree? Hey, fam, you already know how we go. Lesson brought to you by Bodger's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Best stuff, bread, away deposits, et cetera. Mention the three letters A2D, get 10% off your purchase. Listen, we've been sitting here and talking about it. We've seen the offseason. We've seen the draft. Heard Kellen Moore speak. We heard Fangio speak. We'll talk about that a little bit towards the end of the show if we get into it. I'm going to lead us off tonight. I mean, we kind of seen the best of Jalen Hurts already in 2022. Kind of, I think that was probably his ceiling. Can he get higher than that? I'm going to disagree to the poll because I would feel like I would agree more if it was Kellen Moore 2024 would get the best out of the Eagles offense. And stretch that. Then I would have a more inclined to agree. I think Jalen Hurts is what he is, man. And I think he could take that step forward and be more consistent like he was in 2022. I don't see for me, and maybe when you two guys go, maybe there'll be something that you're saying you hit on that may make me change it. But just off the top of my head, I'm going to disagree to the poll because I just don't see what else he can do for Jalen because we haven't seen Dak regress as far as production and numbers since Kellen Moore has left. We've seen the offense around Dak regress versus Dak's actual play. So I don't know how much we have. And listen, I understand Justin Herbert got hurt. There's a lot of other things going around. That was Justin Herbert's worst professional season last year, statistically as an offensive quarterback in the league, right? So I'm not saying it's a bad hire. I'm not saying it's a good hire. I'm saying it's a hire. And based off of what I've seen so far, I'm going to disagree to the poll. I'm going to go to Brinks next with the poll question. What say you, Brinks?
Well, this is different. This is going to be different than 2022. You had Shane Steichen here. He catered to Jalen Hurts' strengths. Now, Kellen Moore in his press conference, I like what I heard from both coordinators. Kellen Moore kind of eased my nervousness about him. He says he's going to use motion. That should have, we need to see, because Brian Johnson last year, he made Jalen Hurts be a drop back guy, make progressions, make reads, and it wasn't the best season for Jalen Hurts at all. At all. He had fumbles, he had interceptions, kind of started slow, got it together in the middle, and then everything went to hell in a handbasket down the stretch. So motion, which Kellen Moore says he's going to use a lot because he used it with his dad's offense in high school, Boise State, and all of his time in the pros as a coach and a player. that should help Jalen Hurts read defenses faster. I've never seen a professional offense not use any motion whatsoever until last year's edition of the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's the easiest way to get the defense to tip their hand, whether they're going to be playing man or zone. And then once you make a read, like, you have a whole bunch of studs, on this team that you can distribute the football to. So I don't want to see Jalen Hurts be a game manager, but, like, I also kind of want to see Jalen Hurts be a game manager. He needs to step up and be more of a pocket presence. Step up in the pocket. Don't roll out when you get in trouble. Different things like that. I think Kellen Moore can help him do that. And by God, if this isn't the best Jalen Hurts throwing season, that's a serious issue, because everything is set up for him to succeed in a pro motion style offense. So I will agree to the poll.
Okay. Now, I agree with a lot what you said. It's almost like you were saying this is just to summarize it, right? If Jalen can get out of his own way. If Jalen can get out of his own way.
He needs to stop bailing out. He needs to stop bailing out. You see young guys like McNabb when he first came in. McNabb was 1 read, 2 read, go run.
Go.
Redeveloped him. He put in the muscle, and then he tried to be Peyton Manning. And ultimately, even though he was so great, I think that hurt him.
Right.
Like, he took away his
he thought he was
best
so
attribute,
good.
His best attribute, which was his athleticism. Now, it's going to be Kellen Moore's job to, kind of get the best of both worlds. You need to develop him as a pocket quarterback, and also don't ignore his athleticism.
Yeah.
And I trust him. I guess I trust him. Guess.
When have you ever truly trusted something when you said "I guess" in front of it? Like,
I guess I trust him more than the last person.
I guess I love her.
Oh yeah, that's a given. Without even seeing one offensive snap right now, we all trust Kellen Moore that we trusted Brian Johnson at this point last year.
But, like, is he going to be better than Shane Steichen? Get more out of him than Shane Steichen?
That's going to be tough, man.
It's going to, like, Jalen's got to play ball on that one. That's got to be a two-way street, because Shane Steichen was strictly, okay, Jalen, you're good at this. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because Shane Steichen, they lost like 3 or 4 games when he ultimately took over the play call.
Yeah.
Because Nick Sirianni tried to do what Kellen Moore wants to do, and Jalen, they were like, what were they, like 2-6 or something?
Brian Johnson.
You mean Brian Johnson? Yeah.
No, but
you said Kellen Moore.
No. When Nick Sirianni was calling the plays.
Are you talking? I think you're talking about Shane Steichen. Yeah, you talking about his rookie season.
And then Shane Steichen took over in like week 7 or week 8, and then they snuck into the playoffs and got smoked by Tampa.
Yeah,
that was the trend. That was like Nick Sirianni. Like, this guy isn't doing. He's not picking up what I'm putting down. Shane, here, you go see what you can do with them. And Shane just said, okay, you're good at X, Y, and Z. Right. This is what we're doing the whole rest of the season, and it got him in the playoffs. And then he had a whole offseason to make a plan over X, Y, and Z. Jalen never really got out of his comfort zone with Shane Steichen.
Nope.
Right.
He's going to be out of his comfort zone with Kellen Moore. And it's going to be up to Jalen Hurts to adapt. And he has 2 monster receivers, a monster tight end, a top 5 running back, and a top 5 offensive line to do so. So
he has man beaters all over the place. So PY, let's get to you. How are you feeling about the poll question?
So I 100% agree. I think he is going to get the best out of Jalen Hurts. Like, I think one of the simple things is that he's just going to make life simpler for Jalen. Like, I went back and I watched a lot of tape from last season when it comes to like what they were having Jalen do. And Brian Johnson just made it so difficult for him. It's first and goal, 5-yard line. What are we doing? Oh, is it DeAndre Swift running? No, actually, we're going to do a QB draw for 3 straight plays. Oh,
Right.
okay. We have all this opportunity, middle of the field, no one's open. What are we doing? Well, it's a screen to Julio Jones for 3 straight plays. Like, there's so many times where you're watching the games and you're just like, there's no feel for the game. There's no understanding of who you're playing. It's just consistently doing what you want to do as a coordinator. And when it came to Shane Steichen had a great finger on the pulse. He knew what to call and when to call it, and allowed Jalen to excel at the things that he was good at, and to not force him to do things that he was not comfortable with. While Kellen Moore may put him out, I don't think out of his comfort zone is a good way of looking at things, because while he's going to probably ask him to do some things he's not used to, he's not going to put him in positions to make him uncomfortable like Brian Johnson did all year last year. Whether it's not running the ball correctly, not using your star players in the middle of the field, forcing screens to players who should not be have screens called for them in the first place. Like, at the end of the day, it's an adult in the room. And one thing you know about Kellen Moore is he is one of the smartest people on that football field with a headset. Like, he is a very intelligent play caller. He understands how to play the quarterback position. He understands how to call plays for the quarterback and how to make them successful. Some of his best usage is with Dak when less was more, and when they didn't have their superstar wide receivers, and your best wide receivers were your lower guys. Like, it's not CeeDee Lamb and guys like that. Like, that's what he was able to do. They were also really good. They were really good at running the football. A misconception with Kellen Moore's offense is that they're not able to run the football, despite the fact that they were top 5 in rushing every year he was there. So that's a weird misconception. So I think at the core of everything going on with his offense this year, I think he's going to maximize Jalen. But I also think for the first time in a while, there's an adult in the room who understands what it means to be successful in the league and to run a successful offense, while also just understanding when and where to call things. So yes, he's gonna get the best out of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and I hope the first thing that he did was take all the plays, the page of the playbook that was bubble screens,
yes,
and just toss that right in the trash can. I don't want to see another bubble screen until I'm old and gray and about to die.
If you're gonna run the bubble screen, run it with Dallas Goedert. He's gonna get some solid yardage out of it. You're gonna run a bubble screen.
You may get hurt doing it, but yeah.
No. He gets hurt when he refuses to go down, and he rips his freaking face mask. That's the issue with him. He never knows. Right. He's like a quarterback. He doesn't know when to go down.
Yeah. I feel like just to kind of piggyback what Brinks just said, like the bubbles, like the whole playbook, right? Hey Nick, we're gonna sit down. This happens to be a fireplace right there. Oh, can we use some paper or something to start the fire? And then, you know what I mean? And just put the whole bubble screen playbook section of it. It's almost like Brian Johnson had his own agenda, bro.
Yes.
But remember the first half of that season, we did see some motion that was effective, but then it's like when things started falling off the rails, it was like nobody can get out of their own way. And we heard Kenny Gainwell say, I forget what platform he was on. He says, when you got people in the building not talking to each other. I don't think that extended just to players in the locker room.
Yeah.
I think at some point coaches weren't talking to each other. And if you have that, then you definitely can't succeed. So this is where I think Kellen Moore will come in. And once again, when I say get the best out of it, because Jalen Hurts is also ultimately going to matter, ultimately the final determination of what he gives us, right? What he brings to the table. That's what Jalen's going to show us. So from that aspect, I feel as if, okay, this is what we have going on. I would agree to the poll from that perspective, right? So now with that said, when we all agree to the poll, how do we get there? Like, Brinks, you said something so well where you said, step it up in the pocket. Like if there was one, if Jalen Hurts was a Madden player and we had control of his attributes, and I can slide one attribute to a skill set of 100, it will be pocket awareness and knowing that, hey, this pocket, this doesn't go out left to right. It also has depth in front to back. So when you feel like they're rushing in and there is a lane up front. You step in it and you step up, and then you'll be able to make a play, or you can run from there. What's the shortest point from A to B? A straight line. Not bootlegging here out to the right, not bootlegging out here to the left, taking on unnecessary hits. Lord knows we all saw probably he has a knee injury from that Vikings game and going into that Jets game, and he was never right again for the rest of the year. So we don't want to see that again. And they invested too much money into your resources and cap potential. And look at what we have. Now, I heard like this has to be the year, right? Because now you look at the NFC, San Fran, don't know what you're going to get. Detroit, maybe. The Packers may take a step forward. It's all here for Kellen Moore, Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, AJ, and DeMonte to take the step forward. And you add Saquon to that mix. I don't see a way that we can't succeed unless players just truly, like Jalen Hurts, don't perform to their expectations.
And to Kenny Gainwell's comments, like I think maybe the quarterback and the offensive coordinator weren't talking too much towards the end there. And I think all the bubble screens that happened were just like, yo, Brian, I'm not running that play. I'm just going to toss it out here. See what happens.
When you're as close as they were and he goes out the way he does and you're just like, yeah, I'm cool with it. Like that tells you all you need to know about just where they are at the end of the season. Like he was just because he did nothing he could to put Jalen in the best position. Like, oh, my guy's struggling. Let's give him some easy throws. You know what I mean? To set him up and get him going and get him hot. There's none of that. It's like, figure it out. QB draw, 2nd and 20. Let's have fun with this.
Yeah. Get to some of the comments here. So I had Bob Brinkman's up. Hopefully more catches, more dishes than bubble screens. Pove agrees to the poll. Pove would know because Pove is a Dallas fan. Catch him on Tuesday nights on Hockey Talk. Only on A2D. He would know. He would have some experience with Kellen Moore. Malmos, a weekly regular, say he needs to show it. Jalen needs to show his worth for contract. He's got a top 5 O-line running back, top 7 tight end, and set the top 10 wide receivers this offense. If it struggles, it's on Hurts. This is an interesting one. I know we haven't talked about the defense today so far, but Mullen said this morning the Eagles are not going to run a 3-4 defense. Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know who John McMillan is. Who's that?
John McMullen.
He was a beat writer for a while for Sports Illustrated. I think now he works for Jacob Sports.
How would he know that?
Nobody knows. Like
nobody knows.
But also, like, you're not drafting someone like Jalex Hunts if you're not running a 3-4. Like that's like
right.
Or 4-3, sorry. You know what I mean? Like it just like that fits him so perfectly, especially with Jordan Davis. Like I feel like using him as a nose tackle in a 4-3 is just going to be so much more helpful to him as opposed to what he was doing in the last few years. Like everything sets up to be that style of defense to where I have a lot of respect for John McMullen. I just don't see that happening.
Where's another one here? Another good comment. So Angry Bear says, "What's up, gentlemen? What's up, Angry?" Greg, you're right. I don't know why all your caps are on every week. Hey, do you do what you need to do? I don't feel like you're yelling at me personally. You're very passionate. Jalen Hurts,
it's the Joey DiBenedetto style of talking right there.
he has to produce. Yeah, man, there's some good comments coming in. Yeah, like once again, I think we all kind of hit it. I think Kellen Moore just has a more well-rounded use of utility there. I think Kellen Moore has a bigger bag of tricks. Nick and him together makes sense.
Magician.
Yeah. I don't know about the yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So if he's a magician, right? What's the magic trick that he needs to perform with this offense?
Kellen Moore or Jalen Hurts?
Both. Give me both.
I mean,
red zone production
for both of them, or just for?
Well, I know, but here's the thing: I know Jalen is going to be good in the red zone. My whole thing last year, and it just drove me crazy, is that you would have these beautiful red zone opportunities, and you would miss out on them because, for whatever reason, Brian Johnson wanted to call screens or he wanted to call QB draws, and he refused to give his best running back the football within the 10-yard line. It was insane.
Yeah.
I think if you're just not an idiot, if either of those guys aren't idiots, Like, this is going to be a top 10 unit in the league.
Yep.
Maybe
Yeah.
top 5. Like, use common sense. Don't be an idiot. Like, we'll talk about Vic Fangio in a second. Like, Vic Fangio, one of my favorite quotes from his press conference was, if things are going bad, like, don't expect me to scheme your way out of it. Like, we're going to get back to basics, and you guys are going to have to play.
Yeah.
Like, that's common sense. Like, just don't get cute. Don't be an idiot. You paid Saquon Barkley all this money. Like, use him.
Yep.
And, like, I'm not worried about Kellen Moore doing that, but, I mean, the Eagles traditionally have been very pass happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun. Like,
what?
With all these weapons, like, you should be having, like, obviously it's a sport where you're getting paid a crap ton of money, but you should be having fun with these weapons. You should be having fun every week in this offense just because of what you're being able to do and what you have available at your disposal.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like I think the first couple weeks of the season, and I think it was a little bit different. What it's kind of didn't work in the favor of Brian Johnson is we had Steichen's offense on tape for a full season, right? And Brian Johnson, while he tried to use some of the same concepts, those are things that he had to play into. I think for the first couple of weeks of this year, you may see the Eagles put up like 48, 50 points because of the fact that they're trying to figure out what this team is going to look like. Yeah, you've seen AJ, you've seen Devontae, you've seen Goddard, you see Jalen Hurts. You've seen them play in the midnight green. But you ain't seen what that looks like when you got Saquon in the backfield as well. You know what I mean? So what kind of wrinkles are we going to get out of that now? So that's why I just think they may catch the league off guard for the first couple of weeks. And generally speaking, the offense is always ahead of the defense anyway for the first couple of weeks in the season, right? So that's where you kind of see those offensive explosions. So I think that's what, and then from there, once the adjustment happens, and once can we still just, even though if they know what's coming, can we just out execute them? Can we just out execute the defense? And once again, get out of our own way, to use what PY said, I mean, to kiss it, right? Keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? The offense, what they're doing, did a Super Bowl year, get out of Billy's and run the ball late third quarter through the end of the game. Yeah, I mean, it's a great recipe for success to win the game, right?
Just
it's
don't
work,
overcomplicate it. Like,
right. For 100% agree.
I love that comment. I'm a Neanderthal. Like, I want to run the football. I want to impose my will. I want to play press man on defense, and I want to blitz the shit out of you until you're on your third quarterback, like we were. That NFC Championship game against the Niners, I can't really put it in my all-time favorite games because, like, it was a blowout and it was just party time the whole second half. But, like, that's awesome. Like, you knocked out not only their top quarterback, but their second quarterback as well.
Yeah.
Did not finish the football game. That's gangrene, 46, Buddy Ryan, Reggie White shit. Like, that's what I want. That's the kind of football team that not only me, but I think that this blue-collar fan base can get behind as well.
Yeah. The thing is,
we don't get behind teams that win.
We don't have a blue-collar owner. He wants it sometimes to look nice and pretty. So something else that's nice to set your eyes on. Let's bring him on in. Mr. Les Bowen. Love the shirt, sir. Love the shirt.
Hey, fellas, how are you?
Welcome
back.
back.
Green collar instead of a blue collar tonight. I hope that's okay.
That's all right.
What's going on tonight, Les? How we feeling today?
I'm just great. I'm sorry I'm a little late here, but
it's all good.
You can catch me up. What are we talking about? Kellen Moore?
We're talking. Well,
you got your wish.
They spoke.
Oh yeah,
you got your wish.
Yes, it was amazing. I wrote about it for PHLY. The thing is, you listen to both of these guys, and these are experienced coaches. Vic Fangio, especially, he's been a coordinator for about a half dozen teams, and he's been a head coach, and they handle themselves beautifully. They could have done this 2 months ago. They would have had to defer on some questions about the draft and stuff like that. But there's no reason why this couldn't have happened long ago. But it was nice to get some idea. Of course, there were a lot of questions that they just can't answer yet. And Kellen Moore even said at one point, well, we're just kind of getting started here. I don't have a I don't have a take on exactly what Jalen Hurts' situation is, how he's going to do in this or anything like that, because he hasn't done it yet. But they did talk. I thought they were both really interesting and very good in what they had to say. What did you guys think?
I liked Fangio's more than not that I hated Kellen Moore's, but like Vic Fangio, he just like stood out to me like, okay, like this guy's a veteran, East Stroudsburg alum, just like myself. Just what he said, he just said like, I've been around. It was just like, I've been around.
Mm-hmm.
I got this. Like, we're going to have our scheme. Our scheme's going to change each week. Like, we have versatile players, but like, we're not going to get carried away. It just reaped of common sense, which is what I want. So,
well,
I want to start with the offense.
For me, with Fangio was what he said about practice. He basically came out and just charted a course 180 degrees from what the Eagles have been doing. You have to expect more from guys. That the problem with today's players isn't that they're any different from yesterday's players. It's that not as much is expected of them, which I'm not sure I agree with that. But, yesterday's players weren't playing 17 games or they weren't, the league wasn't what it is today with the size and the power and the speed of everybody running into each other and stuff like that. But still, I got his point. And it'll be real interesting because that's not at all the way Nick Sirianni has approached this in the 3 years that he's been here.
Right.
Moore was interesting. Yeah, he kind of had to walk a tightrope a little bit. It's all about, what he's going to do. And he can't, he's got Nick to worry about. Whereas Fangio can say whatever he wants. It's his defense,
Right.
Moore had to kind of tiptoe around. He did say he would use motion, which I think was the one thing everybody wanted to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, it's really kind of hard to put a finger on what he's going to do. And that's makes sense to me. It's frustrating to not have a better concept, but it's, that's the way the league works.
Yeah. So I feel like what we're saying is Fangio is the first person to come through this door in the Nick Sirianni era. That's not he's not walking on eggshells. He's like, This is who I am. This is my track record. This is what I do. You just go back and look at Miami last year. Decent defense, a slew of injuries, and still was a decent defense. He literally lost both of his top edge rushers, lost people in the secondary, lost people in the middle of the field, and he still was able to do it. So he's coming in and saying like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. And I'm bringing competition back. I'm going to bring physical toughness back. And I'm not going to be able to sit here and go out my way to try to scheme you for your lack of talent.
That's a very good point. And also, what happened there were some players that didn't like what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And he just said, okay, I'll go find another job. It was like, he doesn't care. He's not going to he's 65 years old and he's going to do what he's going to do. And if there are players that don't like it, I don't think that's going to be a big problem for him.
Nope.
Before we talk more about Vic Fangio, because there's a lot there because it's the defense. He's the defensive guy. Nick's not a defensive guy, but our poll question tonight, Kellen Moore will get the best out of Jalen Hurts. Les, how do you see this marriage between Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts playing out?
I'm very optimistic about it. We don't know. I can't say that he will. I will say that I lean in that direction. I think he's a smart guy, Moore is, and I think Jalen really wants to do well. And everything Moore said about studying Hurts's process and the way he processes information and stuff, that all made a great deal of sense to me. He wasn't saying we're going to do this and Jalen's going to have to figure it out. I think he had the right attitude toward it. And unless they get like a lot of injuries on the offensive line or something, they've got to have a good offense. It made no sense, the problems they had down the stretch last year with the the personnel they had. If they can't, be up at the top of the league in the top 2 or 3 offenses this year, I don't know what you do. I mean, they have loads of talent. Adding Saquon Barkley to what they already had, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, I think it ought to work. I think Kellen Moore, more likely than not, will get the best out of Jalen Hurts in 2024.
Now, I had asked the guys before you had came on, if you were, because somebody referred to Kellen Moore as a magician, right? So speaking of wizardry, if you could be that for Jalen Hurts going into this season, what would be the one trick in a positive fashion that you would want to see Jalen incorporate in his game?
Well, I want to get back to throwing over the middle, which they did the Super Bowl year, and then they sort of forgot about last year. Everybody was trying to run down the sideline for some reason. If I need something better than that, I guess it would just be I saw a clip today of the Super Bowl year, Jalen running down near the goal line against Minnesota. And guys are bouncing off of him, and he's throwing guys aside and straining for the end zone. And it just struck me, last year what we saw was him see guys in front of him and sit down.
Right.
Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
I somehow get that edge back. Don't be so worried about getting hurt. If it's a dire situation and you need to get into the end zone, get into the end zone. Don't worry. Even if it's first down or second down, don't say, "Oh, we'll just pick this up from here," and which is kind of what they did a lot last year, I thought, with throwing the ball away or sitting down on the runs that were blown up. I guess I just want to see him. I want to see him more confident and more
assertive.
Really, like he feels like he's got this. I just never felt that way last year.
No, not at all, because he was a sulker. He down the stretch, he would struggle. He would put his jacket on and sit on the sideline by himself.
He clearly didn't have any confidence in what he was being asked to do.
Right.
And you can blame that on him, but that's what coaching is. Basically, is getting guys to believe in what you're asking them to do. And if you're not doing that with a key player, you can criticize the player, but it's a huge problem with the coaching.
Yeah, like you have to have that buy-in, right?
Yeah, that's what coaching is all about. You can win with all kinds of systems and ideas and in any sport, but a good coach gets people to believe in what he says, and
without a doubt,
that's what the whole thing is. Many years ago, I covered the Flyers, and they had a guy coaching them named Terry Simpson, who had been a vaunted coach in junior hockey, which is kind of the equivalent of college football in Canada. Mm-hmm. And he had won a lot of championships with teenagers who had to do what he said, or they would never get drafted into the NHL. So he came to the NHL, and his attitude after a while was, well, I told these dumb so-and-sos what to do, but they didn't do it. And that was kind of what the whole season was like. Wow. And it's like, no, you didn't. You think you did your job. No, they're not doing it. Your job is to get them to do it.
So he was Chip Kelly. He was Chip Kelly before he was Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Wow, the hockey version of Chip Kelly. Terry Simpson.
Although I did, there was a good joke, and Terry Simpson laughed. One of the problems fans had with Terry Simpson was he was very stoic behind the bench. He would just stand there like this. Didn't get upset, didn't get happy, didn't get mad. So the joke was, what's the difference between Terry Simpson and Homer Simpson? Homer Simpson is animated. So anyway, that's that's a tangent you probably didn't want to go down. But
I mean, hey, it's all welcome here. It's all welcome here. PY, I think you were going to say something before I had said buy-in. You were going to chime in on what Lester said.
Yeah, like it's hard to get excited and believe in what your coach is telling you when you're watching like 80-year-old Julio Jones do 3 straight bubble screens. Like I would look at that as a quarterback and just be like, no matter what I do and no matter what I try, like I'm not going to be able to be successful because the coach is not putting me in any way, shape, or form ways to be successful. And he's not showing me what I need to see in order for me to believe in him as a play caller.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Like even in those positions where you would see Julio with the bubble screens, I'm like, I understand you have a philosophy and this is what you're comfortable with. But right now, what's more important, the coach's comfortability level, calling the plays who is not even getting hit, or the players on the field that can actually execute. And those bubble screens, if you were to use a Kias at some point, somebody that actually can give you some juice, right? Or play a motion off of that, or play an action off of that bubble screen action and do something different. That's why I said earlier, I said it almost felt like Brian Johnson had his own agenda. Like he knew, like you can't watch all this happen around you, this epic monumental collapse of a season in the span of a 6-week period where I think at one point you were down 24-27 to the Giants. Yeah. And think that how was the problem not me? Like how is the problem not I? Like it starts, I mean, it's a cliche, it's a Michael Jackson song, but it starts with the man in the mirror. That's very, very true, right?
Tried to reinvent the wheel. It wasn't needed.
No. And then and the craziest thing is you had on tape, on film, success of the same guys that you are now watching do the same thing that aren't performing. Like, how can we just don't even do anything new? Let's just get back to that.
Yeah.
Right. And we didn't see that. So now hopefully, obviously we see with Fangio, that's completely new. I would say what we see now is almost with the defensive side and the defensive coordinators is more almost invigorating, right? You always used to see those and like the hair commercials and the shampoo commercials, like invigorate your hair. Like this is invigorating life into the defense.
Oh yeah.
Whereas with Kellen Moore, we are asking you to get more out of Jalen Hurts. It's just like it's really saying like, hey, we got studs. Just use our studs in a way.
Yes,
that they can perform.
Do something that makes sense. Yes,
right. Be efficient.
Trying to throw it down the sideline every down.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure the quick slant to AJ Brown. I haven't seen
it works.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it stopped yet.
Right.
That's same thing exactly with Devontae.
Right. That should be right up there with the tush push or brotherly shove. You know, in terms of a short yardage gimme play.
Right. And then if you can run an action off of it where you do a slant and go,
then
somebody's going to bite because the only way you stop that is you have to get there early. I mean, and listen, AJ is one of a kind in the league. There's no other wide receiver in the league right now that's like him. But Michael Thomas got buku money, was a #1 fantasy player overall for years off of the slant. It shows it's so hard to stop. We did stop doing it for about 6 weeks. And what happened? What was our results? We went home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's frustrating. But I'm happy we're here at this point.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like almost all of us somewhat agree to the poll in some form or fashion. Yeah. And there is hopes for that. If this was so let's just switch it on the fly. Vic Fangio will get the best out of the defense in 2024.
I feel more confident about that.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
If you're grading him against what happened here last year, there's just no way that defense is going to be as hapless as it was last year.
Yes.
It's going to be better. It's going to adjust better during games. It's going to, but what you guys said when I came on is still really true. What they're looking for is the big lead, and then you don't have to worry about the run so much, and you just pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. And they ought to be able to do that. So that'll help Vic quite a bit. Yes. But I just think, they've got to be a lot better. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be. They still they don't have quite the talent on defense that they have on offense. And there's there's some positions that you wish were, particularly linebacker right now for me. And even edge, you're not sure what you have. You're depending
Right.
on Nolan Smith developing and so forth. But
Bryce Hoff.
Even with all that, the Slay's healthy, and you got 2 new stud defenders in the backfield, and you're bringing back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I mean, how can you not be a lot better? I'd have to see it to believe it if they aren't.
I thought it was very interesting when he was asked about the linebacking core. The first name he brought up was Zach Bond.
Yeah,
on New Orleans.
He likes him.
So that also tells me that Howie and the scouts have let Vic Fangio put his kind of
he's shopping for the groceries.
He's shopping for the groceries. And I also liked his statement about Cooper DeJean. Everybody's oohing and ahhing over Cooper DeJean, and deservedly so. It looks like a fantastic prospect that they got in the second round. Everyone's oohing and ahhing about his versatility. And Vic Fangio kind of said, like, hold on. He needs a primary position first.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's really smart.
And then we're going to add.
You can't make any rookie into a Swiss Army knife. That would be a disaster. You have
not from day one.
Him. Yeah. You have to make – in fact, I just – pretty much rookie year, I would have him at one spot, unless he shows you something really just incredible by midseason. Then you can't, you're like, okay, let's put him in the middle of the field too and see what happens there. Otherwise, no, just let him be a corner or whatever they want him. I guess they want him to be an outside corner, nickel corner, whatever he's going to be. Let him be that, and then. When he's really doing well with that, bring in something else.
Yeah. It's like he understands how to feed almost he understands how to relate to players and what he knows, and he's seen what it's going to take or what could be successful at getting the best out of the players. And essentially what you said, Les, essentially getting the players to believe in what we're trying to achieve, not only as an individual player, but as what my role is as an individual, how that affects the whole unit, and the whole unit being that defensive side, and how to make that cog and that engine go. And I think, literally, as soon as I heard him say competition, like nothing's going to be handed to you anymore.
Right.
Like how good we have felt last year when we see Bradbury getting burnt. Even if Ringo would have got burnt just as bad as Bradbury, but you see Bradbury come off the field for at least a play. Like there has to be consequences to your actions. Yeah. If you play poor, I'm not saying sit down, but you something got to change.
Right.
And for too long last season, we saw the same thing week after week. Play after play.
Yes.
And I don't think we're going to get that. So just the visual and the optics of it, right, is you already feel as if you're in a better position. We all we are 4 months away from the first snap of the 2024 season, and we've all unequivocally 100% said we feel a lot better about this defense now without seeing them in any capacity on the field, because you just know from the top down it's going to be a better handled unit, and there's going to be there's going to be consequences for your actions, your poor play.
Right. Well, that gets me to, the point that I made originally about Fangio. There were a lot of excuses made at the end of the season for guys being worn down, and they played so many snaps and blah, 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 blah. And he was talking about Carter and Davis specifically about he was glad to see they were in great shape. I just don't think that's going to be. They're going to have to play 16, 17 games this season at a high level, or he's not going to be happy. There's not going to be any, he's played so many snaps.
I'm not worried about Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, we see it with rookies every year, whether it's a wide receiver, a defensive lineman, a corner.
You hit that
get
wall,
into those
man.
14,
that is really
15,
true.
week 16, college season, 12 games?
Yeah.
13 maybe if you make a bowl, then you get like 2 months off between your last game and
14,
your bowl game.
14 at the most if you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
With the 14 for
that, so everybody hits, like a lot of rookies hit that wall.
Jalen Carter,
that's Jordan Davis. His weight's been an issue every year. His endurance has been an issue every year. I mean, I watched him take over the game against Bull. I mean, for me, I go to a lot of games with my father. So for me to notice a defensive tackle taking over an overtime period against the Buffalo Bills, that means you're killing it. And then he like tired out for the whole rest of the season after that. He didn't do anything. So
right. And even though I said that they play 14 games of college, like, you know, the time off that they have, it's 12 straight. So this is 17 straight. If you don't get that first round bye, even with that, you get that extra week off and you get a bye during the year. It's a different. And I need Jordan Davis and Mekhi Becton to be working out together on the same meal plan. Because if I can get those two guys right, now obviously you have way more stock invested in Jordan Davis, but Mekhi Becton he can give you just as much if he pans out, if he can figure it out, because the talent is there. We just need to get everybody on the same accord. I just like this. The one thing I could see from what both coordinators talked about and the message from the top down is accountability. Accountability in this fashion, from off the field to on the field to off the field. Everything you do as a Philadelphia Eagle, you're going to be held accountable. And that just doesn't start with the players. It starts with the coaches. And I think how we put them on notice, everybody. Like, we want this. All this, you see Jeffrey Lurie smiling, doing all this at the draft. He wants to win. He hates to lose. And we want that feeling, right? So I can't wait. Like, I'm starting to feel that energy to, like, all right, now everything is done. The dust is settled. We got Quinyon. We got all these new toys, right? Now you go back, you went from the grocery store, you got all these new ingredients, you just sitting there looking, right? You just like, what kind of dish can I make? What kind of meal can I prepare? And now that's what I think these coaches are doing now, because now you have names, and you can have this concept back in February when the coordinators took the job. You can have this concept to where I want to be able to. I think we can run something like this. Well, now you got a player to where now you can fill in that, and now you can expound upon that, right? So that's where honestly, I want to see Jalen, how he was in that clip that we saw him standing behind Saquon when Saquon was squatting. That smile, that kid in the candy store look, because now he really has something to where I got somebody who can get me. This is what I felt in 2022. And now we can take this even further, because guess what? I think this offense can be even better than that, not just because of Saquon Barkley. I think Devontae Smith is a better player than he was 2 years ago. I think A.J. Brown's a better player than he was 2 years ago. So now, and I want Jalen to be a better player in the head, these 6 inches right here between these two fingers, than he was 2 years ago, because you struggled, you had success out the wahoo, where you would have been an MVP if you didn't miss 2 games, and then you had struggles again. So you live your life to be consistent. Now's your chance to prove it, and luckily you've been given a second chance. So I'm very curious to see what we get 4 months from now, and what we hear and what we see on training camp, because I can't remember an Eagles team that had this much going for them, to where it's really at your fingertips. It's really on you. Just play how everybody thinks that you can play.
Yeah, probably 04. T.O.
Yeah. When they went out and got cursed. Yeah.
2017 was kind of like a surprise.
Right.
Last year was kind of a surprise. Or not last year.
2 years ago.
When we lost to Kansas City, that was like kind of a surprise.
Right. 04 was a little bit weird, because that defense that had been so good for like 3 or 4 years was actually starting to decline some.
Yes.
In 04. And they finally got T.O., so they had an offense that was, able to get them to the Super Bowl, but their defense really wasn't. The defense they had a couple years before that, in 02 or 01, was a better defense, I thought.
Well, I was 04 was like the first year, correct me if I'm wrong, that Taylor and Vincent left, and it was Shepard and Brown.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and it worked.
Well, I think maybe 03 was the first year of that. I think maybe 03 was the first year of that.
I remember Troy Vincent being here in 03.
really young, and Rod Hood was the undrafted free agent nickel, and they were brought Trotter back that year in 2004 after he was missing in 2003. He was in Washington in 2003, and they didn't have Carlos Emmons, who was a really good player here at linebacker. I kind of think they were a little better earlier in the decade, but so it goes.
And that's a crazy thing. Like we sat here and said, we probably would all sit here and say the Super Bowl team from 2022 that went, we probably had more confidence in that team winning the Super Bowl versus the 2017 team. Sometimes it's just not. It's not about the talent on paper. Sometimes things just happen in mysterious ways.
Well, the idea, even though Nick Foles was so tremendous in the NFC Championship game, the idea of outgunning Tom Brady in the Super Bowl with your backup quarterback was so outlandish.
It's insane. It's a team of destiny. Like, there's nothing more Philadelphia than like beating the GOAT coach, the GOAT quarterback with Nick Foles of all people.
And some of the things that were done in that game, like Corey Clement, that was the game of his life. He never reached that level again. It was just an amazing thing. It really was to win, to give up 505 yards passing and win the game.
And you win.
Never happen again. It never will.
No. It's almost like you can go through all sports, right? There's no reason in the world the 06 Heat should have beat that Mavericks team that year. No way. Should have never beat the Mavericks, but it happened. It happened. Sometimes these crazy things just happen. I mean, it's rare when it happens in football. I think football is one of the true ultimate team sports, like where the talent rises, because it's 60 minutes and it's such a physical game. And at some point, talent just can't hold up, right? I think if I think about,
you can't have one player, who's like so good that it makes you a Super Bowl winning team. It's not like having a hot goalie or a pitcher like Wheeler or something like that. Even if you have a great quarterback, if you don't, as the Colts found out over and over again with Andrew Luck, you can't, if you don't have the line and the other elements, you're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Like, I think the most recent one I could think of is I want to say 2021. No. Whatever the year of the Super Bowl where Tampa Bay played Kansas City.
Brady's.
Those teams were outmatched, and yet Tampa Bay just came in with a game plan and they literally made Mahomes look like he was human.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, you're right. Yeah.
That's probably the last time where I would feel as if there was just one team that just was so more well equipped, and that's not the result that we saw. That's not so. It can it happen? It can happen, but here's the thing: that's an outlier. That's not the rule. that's not the rule. The rule is 99 of the times the other way. The more talented team wins, right? So, I'm definitely intrigued by it. There was a question here: post June 1 designated cuts or trades. What moves, if any, right here by Mamos? June 1st coming up. What moves being made? Question: trade toast Bradbury for a seventh and pay a partial salary. What about any linebacker cuts? Isn't the free agent safety from Denver still available? Simmons will be the cherry on top.
That would be a perfect offseason.
Yeah. I would love to see that. I don't know if they're going to. Somebody a few crawls ago, and the thing at the bottom of the screen, somebody brought up Sidney Brown. I think maybe. I have no idea what's going on with Sidney Brown, but if he's like super advanced in his recovery, then maybe they're not going to sign Simmons. But I can't believe that Sidney was hurt so late in the season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put any pressure on that at all till like mid-season or something. I just wouldn't. A young man with a lot
ACLs are tricky.
A lot of years in front of him. You don't want to screw that up, But I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know how bad the injury really was. I don't know, how he's recovering. We don't know. But what was the original? What were we talking about right before that?
Good question.
The June 1 cuts.
June 1 cuts. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Bradbury.
definitely. They have 14 corners on the roster right now. I mean,
Jeez.
You can't possibly even go into camp with 14 corners. They got it. I think they'll just have to cut him. Nobody wants to trade for a guy that.
Right.
If
doesn't
anyone
have a
can
role.
find him, it's Howie.
Yeah.
But even if you trade him, that cap hit is still there. That's the one thing about.
Right. Yeah.
I don't. It's Les. You covered every other sport as well at some capacity. Is there dead cap hits in other salary caps?
The way the NBA thing is really Byzantine to me. They're trading guys who are retired because of the money. The way the money works. I don't. That might be even worse.
Right.
But no, I don't know of dead cap. Well, baseball doesn't have a cap, and hockey, it's that there's no debt. I don't think there's dead money with hockey.
So there's no ramifications outside of football, which generates the most money out of all the other three sports combined. But yet there's ramifications when we move on from a player. That money that we don't physically have to pay that player anymore, we can't go use that for something else.
It's fake.
It boggles my mind.
But that's the owners. The owners set that up. I mean, that's that wasn't like Roger Goodell did that or anything. It's the owners that want that. They don't want unlimited spending. They don't want Jerry Jones to be able to spend $400 million for his team, and the Tennessee Titans only able to spend $200 million. That's not that. No,
it levels the playing field to a point, and I'm not saying. I just have a problem with the dead cap part of it. Like, still have a hard cap, right? And then you can even enforce higher luxury tax if you go above the cap. I'm just saying, like, imagine how much intrigue would be in the league if people started trading money for money.
It's got to be something from the players' union to like try and hold the teams accountable to their word, because
something.
Well, the biggest problem I would have with NFL contracts, if I were an agent, is the fact that they can just come up to you. If you were injured most of last year and you have 2 years left on your deal and you're not like a premier player that everybody in the league wants, they'll just come up to you and say, hey, you didn't play last year. You got hurt. We don't feel like paying you what we owe you for these next 2 years. First time I ever saw that, I was amazed. I'd just come over from hockey. They did that to Hollis Thomas. And I was like, you mean they just told you that you're now going to be making X instead of Y? And yeah, I could have refused, and then they'd cut me. And, at this point in my career, I don't know who I'm going to end up with or for how much money. So, hey, that's insane. There's no other sport where you get to do that. It's we'll just rewrite the contract because we weren't satisfied.
No, I think Brinks has said it. He said the money goes to the cloud, or I think you were saying something like that.
Where's it going?
Yeah, it's out there. It's almost like for my IT people out there, it's like a repository. You can clear your browser history, you can clear your cache, you can clear your cookies, you can do all that you want to. There's a repository with your history somewhere. It's deep buried within something that they can't go find. But it's something that's actually tangible. Right. There's no use for this tech cap outside of just limiting.
Oh, there is. I mean, it keeps parity. I mean, that's what it.
That's true.
It's a governor. I guarantee you, Jerry Jones would not have had the offseason that he had this year if he could spend all the money he wanted. I just don't think you really want what you say you want. I don't think that would be good. I think that's one of the best things about the NFL is that teams, you have to really run a team horribly to never be good. I mean, it's not like the NBA. The NBA, you can get the whole thought process of the process was that you can just get stuck in purgatory for years and years and years and never get out because you don't have
you mean like they are now after the process?
That's not the way the NFL works. If you run your franchise in a responsible manner with smart people, you'll win.
Yeah.
You might not win the Super Bowl every year, but you'll win. And there aren't many. Baseball isn't really like that.
Right.
There are markets that just don't have a Pittsburgh. In baseball, it's. I think the NFL has a good thing going. I wouldn't screw with it too much.
Yeah.
Everyone says the salary cap is fake until it's their team who just don't know how to handle money. Like the Cowboys, like the Saints, like all those teams. Like, oh, the salary cap isn't real. I'm like, well, how come all the other owners are really good at manipulating it? Yeah. And some owners and general managers are really bad at it. Like if it's all fake and it doesn't matter.
Well, what fans say when they say it's fake, they see these reports that such and such a team is $60 million over the cap, and then somehow the team is back within compliance. But what they don't realize is that team didn't get to sign any free agents, or it had to get rid of a player that it didn't really want to get rid of.
Yes, like the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. But when you hear that a team is way over the cap, you think Roger Goodell is going to throw them in jail or something. That's just not, it doesn't quite.
I actually want that to be a thing. Can we make that happen now?
No. I mean, it gets paid what? Like $65 million per year? Something like some absurd amount, and doesn't get hit one time. Yeah. How you don't get hit one time, make the most money out of any player in the league, and you got a bad back? It's just, I don't.
Well, not only that, but the NFL keeps trying to, they've got all this money, but like NFL Network cuts people off, because they can't possibly afford, to have this reporter or that, I mean.
No, stop it. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Right.
But I will tell you something that is tangible, that is real. It is Bowen's blog on PHLY. Did you write a piece since the coordinators finally spoke?
Yeah, I did write about the coordinators, yes. And I said pretty much what you guys have said. Fangio really impressed me, and I was okay with Kellen Moore. Mm-hmm. And Michael Clay spoke as well, which was, normally you wouldn't care at all because it's a special
I care about our best coordinator.
But suddenly there's this bizarre kickoff thing, and it was very it was worth hearing from Michael Clay as well.
Yeah.
So,
imagine if I told you last season he was the only one to earn an extension.
Yeah, and I would have fired him without second thought after the Super Bowl season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody expected him to outlast Brian Johnson and Sean Desai last year.
But
nobody.
It proves what I have learned, which is that special teams is a lot about who you put on the special teams, and not so much about when the Eagles brought in Bobby April. That was supposed to be, this guy's a guru. He's done this and this. He had this over here, and on this team their special teams stunk with Bobby April because they didn't put players on the special teams who could do these things. You need to devote roster space to guys who aren't going to help you that much on offense or defense.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to sign back 4 of those guys, you'll have good special teams.
It has to be something. Special teams is an acquired taste. It has to be something that you have to want to, because Matthew Slater's out there from New England is not just running around every day to be a special teamer.
Nope.
That's something when you find it, you have a good one, you don't let them go. And it's his character. You got to have character to play special teams. It's not all about talent, right? It's not all about scheme. But it is very intriguing where I think that this is where Howie may be ahead of the game. When these new rules came out for the kickoff, like, he actually put tangible resources into it. And I'm curious to see what we get out of that, right? So, but for tonight's show, guys, I think that's going to kind of wrap it up for us here. We're going to park it. Phillies are in extra innings right now. So
again.
But Les, you already know, before you get out of here, plug everything where we can find you, where they can find you.
I haven't written anything on Les Bowen's John lately because I'm doing this stuff for PHLY, and I don't have that much to say, but I will get the John going back at some point. But I'm on the PHLY. You do have to subscribe to it. I'm sorry, but they want to make money, and who can blame them? And occasionally I appear on their blogs too, and on their podcasts too, and obviously with you guys. So that's pretty much it.
Well, we thank you
Good
as
stuff.
always.
Thank
Let's
you,
been
Les.
Thank
another
you guys.
beautiful
This is
Monday
fun.
night. I don't know what's going on with this weather. I don't remember the last time it was this cold in the second week of May.
Yep.
I don't, and it's just I have no idea.
Pollen's
Mother
killing
Nature
me.
is Mother
It's
Nature.
trying to assassinate me.
Pollen's killing you, but yet you wore a yellow shirt. This
The
is what we're
pollen
doing.
is bad. That's bad stuff. I tell you. Yeah.
But everybody, take your Zyrtec, take your Zysol, take your Claritin, whatever you got to do, so you can do anything you can to be right back here next Monday night with Eagles Talk on ATD Radio. So for all the boys, I'm OGP. We got Brinks, we got Les, and we got PY. We
All
are
right.
out of here. Everyone have
Take
a
care,
great
everybody.
night.